Commander Hale stepped out of the shuttle with slow, careful steps, feeling the heat of Prime rise through the metal beneath his boots. The planet smelled of burning stone and storms that never slept. The air shimmered with a strange, metallic taste, like lightning waiting to strike. Even though he wore a heavy protective suit, he felt exposed. Half a galaxy of fear separated him from the beings he had come to face. Behind him, the shuttle door hissed closed, leaving him alone with the endless desert and the distant towers of the alien capital. They rose like black spears stabbing at the sky. Each tower glowed with faint red veins, as if the buildings themselves were alive and breathing slowly in the shadows. His heart thudded in his chest. He wasn't afraid of death. He had seen too much of it during the long and useless war, but he feared failure. He feared going back to his own people with nothing but another broken attempt at peace. He feared more names added to the lists of the dead. The Queen of the had agreed to see him. That alone was a miracle. Some humans believed she was a monster, a creature made of fire and cruelty. Others believed she was a genius and a warrior whose pride would never let her bend, but suspected she was something far more complicated. People who commanded empires never fit inside stories told by frightened soldiers. As he approached the palace gates, two towering guards stepped forward. Their bodies were covered in silver armor that shimmered like heated glass. Their eyes glowed with a soft yellow fire that made think of dying stars. One of them raised a hand. "Human," the guard said in a voice that sounded like metal scraping stone. "You walk into a place from which no visitor has returned." Swallowed hard but kept his voice steady. "Then I hope to be the first." The guard studied him and felt a strange weight settle over him, as if he were being measured for strength, honesty, and something deeper. At last, the guard stepped aside. "You may enter, the Queen waits." Walked through the gates and the world changed. The palace interior glowed with red and blue lights swirling like living flames. The hallways curved and twisted, decorated with crystals that hummed softly, almost like a heartbeat. The air was warmer here, but not painful, more like standing near a bonfire on a cold night. Strange symbols carved into the walls flickered as he passed, as if greeting or warning him. Felt small, not because the palace was enormous, though it was, but because everything here felt ancient, as if every stone had survived 1,000 forgotten wars. He wondered how many leaders had walked these halls, how many choices had shaped the destiny of this world. When the final door opened, stepped into the throne chamber and felt his breath stop. The alien queen sat upon a throne carved from the bones of star beasts. The bones glowed with a faint silver light, and the throne stretched high behind her like the wings of a giant creature frozen in time. She was nothing like the terrifying stories. She was taller than any human, with skin the color of moonlit steel and eyes that held galaxies of trembling fire. Two curved horns rose from her head, shimmering with faint blue sparks. She watched him with an expression he couldn't read, part curiosity, part amusement, part something like tired sadness. "So," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber like a soft bell, "this is the human who refuses to kneel." Forced himself to stand tall. "I came for peace, not submission." Her lips curved into a thoughtful smile. "Peace," she repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. "Your species uses that word often, yet your ships burn in battle." Met her gaze. "That is why I'm here, because we cannot survive another year of this war." For a moment, silence filled the room like a heavy blanket. Then, surprisingly, the Queen's expression softened. Not much, but enough for to see a hint of something human-like beneath her stern power. "Very well, human," she said at last. "Come forward, let us see if your courage is as strong as your words." And so, with his heart beating like a drum inside his chest, stepped closer to the ruler whose answer might save 2 worlds, or destroy them forever. The throne room felt colder than before, despite the soft hum of alien energy surrounding it. Commander Hale followed the Queen as she led him through twisting corridors that seemed to pulse with life. Each step echoed, bouncing off walls that glowed faintly with alien glyphs. He had learned to control his fear, but the unease of walking through the heart of enemy power without a weapon pressed on him like a heavy stone. The Queen moved with grace, her horns glinting with sparks that seemed almost alive. She didn't glance at the guards trailing behind them. They stayed just far enough to watch, yet never intervened. Realized quickly that the queen's presence alone commanded obedience and fear in equal measure. She was more than a ruler. She was the axis around which her world revolved. Finally, she stopped in a chamber that opened to the sky, the vast horizon burning red and orange. Winds howled across the jagged cliffs, carrying dust and ash that glittered under the strange sun, shielded his eyes, blinking against the sharp brightness. The queen's gaze never left him. "You have come to ask for peace," she said, voice soft, almost distant. "Yet you walk into the home of a people who have known war for 1,000 cycles. Tell me, human, why should I listen to one who bears nothing but words?" Swallowed hard, his throat felt dry, his usual confidence threatened by the weight of her stare. "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything," he said. "My planet is dying, my people are bleeding, and I know yours are too. Continuing this war will destroy us both." The queen's eyes narrowed, not in anger but in consideration. "You speak truth, and yet truth alone is worthless if not proven. You claim concern for both our species, yet can a single human act carry the weight of entire worlds?" He met her gaze steadily. "If it can stop the war, it has to be tried. Otherwise, there is no hope at all." Her lips curved in a small, almost imperceptible smile. She motioned for him to follow. They descended a winding staircase that led to a large circular chamber filled with humming machines. Lights danced along the walls like living stars. At the center sat a cube, glowing faintly, its surface pulsing like a heartbeat. "This," she said, pointing, "controls the planetary shields. These shields protect our cities, our crops, our people. They are failing. If they collapse, this planet will become unlivable in hours. You can fix it or let it die." Stepped closer, his eyes widening as he studied the alien technology. "I'm not an engineer," he admitted. "I barely understand your tech." Her expression softened slightly, almost compassionate. "Then you will learn, or find someone who can. Time is short, and every moment wasted risks everything." He felt the full weight of her words settle on him. Death, starvation, and war, all in one hand. And yet there was a challenge here that went beyond survival. It was a test of courage, endurance, and trust. The Queen was giving him the chance to prove humanity's worth, not through weapons, but through action and resolve. "What if I fail?" he asked quietly, fear threading his voice. "Then we both fail," she said simply. "Your people will fall, mine will fall, and the war will resume with new fury." His fingers brushed the cube's surface. A pulse of warmth ran through his hand, almost alive. He realized she wasn't offering him a tool. She was offering him responsibility, a bridge between their worlds. The entire future of Prime, and maybe humanity, rested on what he did next. He looked up at her, and for a brief moment, he saw the Queen not as a ruler, not as an alien, but as someone who carried the weight of a world on her shoulders, just like him. "Then I'll do it," he said, his voice steady with determination. "I'll save your people and ours." The Queen's eyes glimmered with a mix of amusement, respect, and something else, something human and almost tender. "Very well, Commander Hale, you may not yet understand what you've agreed to, but know this, success will change everything for both our species." Swallowed and nodded. As he turned to study the cube more closely, he realized the true danger wasn't just in the failing shields. The real challenge was proving that one human could rise above fear, above the war, and carry the hopes of two worlds. And somehow, he knew that even the Queen hadn't expected him to accept so readily. The wind from the cliffs rushed past them, carrying sparks from distant fires, and in that moment felt the weight of history pressing on him. Not just as a soldier, not just as a human, but as a bridge between species. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. The work would be hard, the stakes unimaginably high, and yet he would not fail. Because sometimes courage was the only language that truly mattered. Hale studied the glowing cube in the center of the chamber. Its pulse felt like a heartbeat, steady and alive. The Queen stood silently behind him, her eyes following every movement he made. Her gaze was intense, but there was no malice, only the weight of expectation. It was as if she was measuring not just his skill, but his determination, his heart. "This cube controls the planetary shields," she said softly, her voice carrying across the chamber like a calm wind. The shields have cracked after centuries of storms. They protect every city, every forest, every living being. If you fail, this world dies. If you succeed, you prove that humans can be more than their wars. Swallowed, he had faced impossible missions before, but nothing like this. He was not trained in alien technology, not in machines that seemed almost alive, reacting to thoughts as if they could understand fear. Every step closer to the cube felt heavier, as if the air itself weighed on him. I can try, he said finally, his fingers hovering over the surface. But I'll need guidance. I can't do this alone. The Queen's expression softened slightly, almost tender. Very well, you will not be alone. But know this, human, every second wasted, every hesitation brings the planet closer to ruin. Your resolve must be as sharp as your courage. Nodded, he could feel his pulse in his ears, the weight of the task pressing on him like the gravity of a dying sun. The Queen signaled, and a group of engineers stepped forward. Their alien features were harsh and angular, their movements precise and efficient. They glanced at with suspicion, muttering words in a language he did not understand. You must learn to listen, the Queen said quietly, almost as if speaking to herself. Even in silence, there is guidance. Took a deep breath and stepped closer to the cube. The engineers began to gesture, showing circuits, pointing at panels, making sounds he barely recognized. He nodded, tried to repeat their motions, and slowly began to understand. Piece by piece, the puzzle of the shield started to reveal itself. Hours passed like minutes. Sweat soaked his suit. Sparks flew from failing panels. The air grew hotter, thicker, as if the planet itself were holding its breath. Felt his hands tremble, his mind strain, but he refused to step back. Failure was not an option. From the corner of his vision, he saw the Queen watching, silent, unblinking. At one point, a surge of energy arced from a failing conduit, and before he could react, the Queen moved faster than he imagined possible. She shielded him with her arm, the sparks licking her skin, burning him with guilt and awe. You should have been careful, he said, heart racing. I didn't mean. Do you think I would let a human die when I need him alive? She interrupted, her tone steady but with a rare warmth. Your courage matters, but your life matters too. We both have a world to save. For a moment saw her differently, not as an alien queen, not as a ruler, but as someone who carried the same burden he did. Responsibility, hope, fear. He returned to the cube, renewed. His hands moved faster, his mind sharper. He began to anticipate the energy flows, to trace circuits with confidence. The engineers watched in surprise, murmuring among themselves. Slowly, the pulse of the cube stabilized under his hands. The Queen's eyes gleamed faintly. You are learning, human, not just skill, but understanding. That is far more valuable than brute force. His chest heaved, exhaustion pressing against his ribs. But he did not stop. Not when failure would mean death for millions. Not when the Queen had trusted him. Not when hope itself hung on his hands. As night fell over Prime, the chamber glowed with the soft pulse of the shields. Stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. He dared a glance at the Queen. She nodded once, almost imperceptibly. Tomorrow, she said softly, the real test begins. Tonight you rest. But remember, Commander Hale, the planet does not forgive weakness. Neither do I. He nodded, feeling both fear and pride twisting in his chest. For the first time since arriving, he understood the true meaning of their challenge. It was not just about technology, not just about saving cities. It was about proving that one human, guided by courage and compassion, could stand equal to an entire world of beings more powerful than him. And as he lay under the alien sky that night, the twin suns setting in red fire, he realized that whatever came next, he was no longer just a soldier. He was a bridge, a hope, a choice that might change the fate of two species forever. The next morning awoke to a sky painted with streaks of violet and crimson. Prime's twin suns glimmered over jagged mountains, casting long shadows across the city. He felt the weight of the Queen's words pressing on him as he dressed. The real test begins today. Every step he took toward the shield core made his stomach twist, with a mixture of fear and determination. He was not alone. A small group of alien engineers accompanied him, their expressions tight, cautious, almost hostile. They whispered in their strange language, hands gesturing sharply. tried to follow to mimic their movements, but he often stumbled, unsure of the next step. Yet the queen's eyes followed him from above, calm yet unyielding. He realized she didn't need to intervene, her presence alone pushed him forward. When they reached the core chamber, the heat hit him immediately. The walls glowed red, pulsing with unstable energy. The shield network flickered overhead like dying stars. Sparks danced dangerously close to the floor, and the hum of failing machinery made the air vibrate. His heart pounded. One mistake here would destroy not just him, but the entire planet. "Commander Hale," the Queen said, her voice firm but soft. "Every connection, every sequence must be precise. You cannot fail. The planet will not forgive hesitation." Nodded, he approached the central console. His fingers brushed the glowing panels, and a jolt of energy ran up his arm. He almost stumbled but caught himself, forcing focus into every movement. He traced circuits with care, rewiring damaged conduits and rerouting power flows. Sparks flew and alarms blared, yet he pressed on, driven by something stronger than fear: hope. Suddenly, a surge of energy exploded from a core panel, froze for a split second, and then he saw movement out of the corner of his eye. The Queen stepped forward, her arm intercepting the electrical arc. Blue scars sizzled along her skin where the sparks had landed. His mouth fell open. "You should have stayed back," he shouted, panic breaking through. Her gaze met his, calm, unwavering. "And let you fail. You carry more than skill, human. You carry responsibility. Do not forget that." The words struck him harder than the sparks. This was not just a machine he was fixing. It was a planet, a people, a future. And the Queen, who everyone feared as untouchable, trusted him to act. The enormity of that trust steadied his hands. Dove back into the core, moving faster, thinking sharper. He followed the engineer's guidance, though now he anticipated their motions. He began to understand the rhythm of the shields, feeling them not as circuits, but as a living pulse he could influence. Every adjustment brought stability. Every correct connection made the hum steadier, the flicker dimmer. Hours passed like minutes. His suit was scorched in places, sweat and ash streaked his face. But he refused to stop. The Queen watched, standing silently in the glowing chamber. At one point she whispered, "You are stronger than your people often believe, stronger than I expected." Felt something shift inside him. Pride, relief, maybe both, but he couldn't dwell on it, not when failure still lurked in every spark. With a final adjustment, the cube's pulse steadied completely. The alarms ceased. The shields lit the planet in a soft, protective glow. Prime exhaled, the winds calming, the sky clearing. Sank to his knees, exhausted, trembling, but alive. The Queen stepped forward, her hand on his shoulder. "You did it, human," she said quietly. "You have given my world a chance, and in doing so, you have proven something far greater than courage." For the first time, looked at her not as an alien queen, not as a ruler, but as someone who had trusted him with everything. She had risked herself, her people, and even her pride to see that he could succeed. In that moment, he understood the depth of connection forming between them, a bond forged not through words, but through shared peril and trust. His chest heaved, his hands shook, his voice was barely audible. I didn't expect you to risk yourself for me." The Queen's lips curved into the smallest, almost human smile. "I did not expect you to succeed either, but here you are, and because of that the stars may shine a little brighter tomorrow." And in that chamber of fire and light, amidst the humming energy of a saved world, Hale realized that courage, true human courage, could change the fate of entire planets. The shield network glowed brighter than it ever imagined. Standing in the core chamber, he could feel energy flowing like rivers of light through Prime, pulsing beneath the surface, wrapping every city, every forest, every living creature in its invisible embrace. The hum of power filled the air, a song of life that made his chest ache with relief and awe. Stumbled back from the console, his suit scorched and streaked with sweat. He had never felt such exhaustion nor such exhilaration. Every instinct screamed that he should collapse, yet he stood, staring at the softly shimmering dome enveloping the planet. The shields had held. The world had survived. Then he felt movement behind him. The Queen stepped into the chamber, her silhouette framed by the warm glow. She was calm, but he noticed the faint marks on her arm from the previous day's surge. She had risked herself to protect him, and now she approached him with that steady, piercing gaze that seemed to see everything about him. his courage, his fear, his humanity. "You did it," she said quietly. Her voice wasn't commanding, it was filled with something far rarer, admiration and maybe even gratitude. "You saved my people, and in doing so, you saved yourself as well." His hands shook as he wiped sweat from his brow. I didn't expect the core to be this alive," he admitted. "I thought it was just machinery, but it felt like it wanted to survive." She inclined her head, almost contemplative. "Life is in all things human. Even machines, if they are built with care, carry a pulse of the world itself. You understood that. You listened." For a moment felt the weight of everything, the dead, the war, the destruction they had both endured. But here, in this moment, he realized the other side of war, hope. Life could continue. People could build again. Cities could flourish. The air itself felt lighter. Prime battered and exhaled as if waking from a long nightmare. The Queen stepped closer, her expression softer than he had ever seen. "Commander Hale," she said almost shyly, "your people do not understand the strength they carry. You humans are capable of more than you know. You faced a test that would break many others, and yet here you stand." Felt a lump in his throat. He was a soldier trained for death, not for praise. Yet hearing these words from her, the queen of an alien species he had once feared, stirred something deep within him. Pride, humility, relief, and something he could not yet name. The engineers began murmuring among themselves, their previous suspicion replaced with awe. Some approached him cautiously, touching the consoles and panels, confirming that the network was stable. The shields hummed steadily, a protective heartbeat for an entire world. Turned to the Queen. "I never expected you would actually trust me, or let me do this." She tilted her head, her glowing eyes softening. "Trust is earned, human, and you earned it not by words but by action, by courage, by choosing life over fear." A strange warmth passed through him. He realized something profound. Humanity had never truly needed alien technology or weapons to prove itself. Their strength lay in resilience, courage, and the ability to act when all hope seemed lost. And now, for the first time, he felt that strength acknowledged, not by humans, but by someone beyond the stars. The Queen's gaze lingered on him, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "You carry more than skill in your hands, Hale. You carry the future of two worlds, remember that, and never doubt what a single human can do." Nodded, chest heavy with emotion, knowing she was right. One human could change the fate of millions. One human could stand against fear, darkness, and impossible odds, and prevail. Outside the chamber, Prime seemed to shimmer with life, as if the planet itself knew it had been given another chance. Winds no longer screamed. Fires no longer raged. Even the sky seemed calmer, reflecting the new pulse of hope. For the first time in years, felt a smile break across his face. Exhaustion remained, but so did a profound sense of triumph. Humanity had reached beyond itself. Humanity had touched the stars, and in doing so had saved a world that had once been an enemy. The Queen approached him, her hand extended not as a ruler but as a partner, a witness, and perhaps something more. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we speak of peace. Tonight celebrate survival. Tomorrow the future begins." And for Hale, standing in the heart of a glowing world he had saved, that future felt limitless. The following day, Hale stood in the central plaza of the alien capital. The streets, once tense and silent under the shadow of war, now buzzed with cautious energy. Citizens peeked from behind structures, their eyes reflecting both curiosity and hope. It was a new day for Prime and could feel the shift in the air, a subtle vibration that told him the planet itself sensed relief. The Queen's throne had been moved outside, onto a platform overlooking the plaza. Her warriors lined the steps, standing taller and prouder than ever, no longer menacing but protective. Every eye was on the human who had saved their world. The weight of their gazes pressed upon him, yet he felt a quiet pride that steadied his nerves. When the Queen stepped forward, the murmurs of the crowd faded into silence. Her presence commanded attention, as always, but now it carried a different energy. Approval, respect, and something warmer, softer, that even couldn't fully name. "The shields are restored," she began, her voice carrying to the edges of the plaza. "Our cities are safe. Our people have another chance to live, to grow, to thrive. This is thanks to one human, one who refused to leave his courage behind." Felt a mixture of awe and humility. He had acted out of necessity, out of duty, but hearing her acknowledgement made every risk feel worth it. The Queen's words were not just praise, they were validation, not of his skill alone, but of humanity itself. And because of this human, she continued, her glowing eyes locking onto him, we will end the war. By my decree, Prime recognizes humanity as allies. From this day forward, we shall not fight each other. The plaza erupted in cautious celebration. Warriors bowed, citizens cheered, and his chest tightened with relief. He realized that for the first time in years, two worlds could breathe without fear of death or destruction. He wanted to speak, to tell her he was grateful, to say something worthy of the moment, but words failed him. Then the Queen leaned closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. "Commander Hale," she said, eyes glimmering with a mix of amusement and something more intimate. "In our culture, when a ruler is saved from certain destruction, a bond must be formed with the savior. This bond is called a life bond." Blinked confusion and shock washing over him. A bond. She smiled, a soft, bright, unexpected smile that made his chest ache. Yes, a connection that unites lives, hearts, and sometimes even worlds. You do realize that means marriage, right? The words hit him like lightning. The crowd around them held their collective breath, waiting. His mind spun. Marriage. He had come to Prime to negotiate peace, not to pledge his life to an alien queen. His pulse raced, his heart thrummed so loudly he was certain she could hear it. I thought this was about peace," he stammered. "It is," she replied gently, her glowing gaze soft but unwavering. "But peace is not just a declaration. It is a bond, a promise, a joining of futures. The strongest peace is one that ties our worlds together." Looked at her, and suddenly he understood the weight of her culture, the depth of her trust. She had seen something in him, something more than courage. She had seen humanity's potential. And now she offered him a choice that could change not just the two of them, but countless lives across the stars. He took a deep breath, feeling the enormity of the moment. Around them, the plaza buzzed with hope, the citizens' faces shining with anticipation. And in the Queen's eyes, he saw not just authority, but faith. A faith that he could honor the bond, that he could rise above fear and hesitation. Swallowed, heart heavy with responsibility, yet full of determination. "If this bond can ensure peace, then I accept," he said finally, voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside him. The Queen's eyes softened, a radiant warmth spreading across her face. "Then let it begin," she whispered, and her smile shone brighter than the twin suns above Prime. In that moment felt the impossible, the weight of two worlds, the hope of millions, and a connection that transcended species, come together. Humanity had acted again, not through conquest, but through courage, trust, and the willingness to take a leap where others feared to tread. For the first time he realized, the future was no longer uncertain. It was alive, glowing, and theirs to shape. The Plaza of Prime was alive with color and motion. For the first time in decades, the city pulsed not with the tension of war, but with cautious celebration. Citizens ventured into the streets, children laughed, and the aroma of alien spices and fires filled the air. Commander Hale walked beside the Queen, feeling every eye upon him, not with fear this time, but with awe. He had saved a world, and in doing so, he had earned a place in it. The Queen's hand brushed against his as they ascended the steps to her platform. Her skin, faintly glowing under the sunlight, contrasted with the vibrant banners fluttering in the wind. She did not look like a distant ruler now. She was present, real, and somehow more human than any human he had ever known. Her eyes, bright with warmth and pride, met his, and for a fleeting moment felt that the universe itself had paused to watch them. "Today," the Queen began, her voice carrying across the plaza, "we witness not just the survival of a planet, but the beginning of a new era. Two species, once enemies, now joined in purpose and hope." His chest tightened as he listened. Words had never carried such weight, not even in the heat of battle. He realized the truth she spoke. The bond between them, the courage he had shown, the trust she had placed in him, all of it had reshaped destiny. She paused, scanning the crowd, then turned to him with that soft, knowing smile. "And now, Commander Hale, our bond is not just for our people, but for us, for our futures, for peace. In our culture, the one who saves a ruler is given a life bond, the strongest connection a being can form. You have earned it." felt a mix of shock, awe, and something warmer stirring deep within him. He remembered every moment, the heat of the shield core, the sparks, the queen shielding him from death, the pulse of the planet responding to his hands. And now all of that led to this, an offer not only of partnership, but of trust, of hope, and of love in its quietest, most profound form. I didn't come here to claim a throne, he said quietly, trying to steady his voice. I came to stop the war. The queen's eyes twinkled, a laugh barely escaping her lips, melodic and bright. Good, you would hate the paperwork, she said lightly, but her gaze softened and saw the sincerity beneath her humor. But what you have done, what you have shown, proves that courage and compassion are stronger than any weapon. The plaza erupted with cheers, yet barely noticed. His attention was on her. The queen, who had once been untouchable and frightening, now stood beside him, offering not command but partnership. And in that partnership he saw the power of humanity, not just to fight, but to inspire, to heal, to unite. He took a deep breath. If this bond can bring lasting peace, if it can give our worlds a chance, then I accept. Her smile widened, and for the first time felt that smile was meant solely for him. Then let it begin, she whispered. The twin suns hung low over Prime, casting long golden and violet streaks across the city. Ships that had once carried war now hovered silently above, witnessing a new era. The air seemed to hum with promise, as if the planet itself celebrated. Reached for her hand, feeling the warmth of her pulse beneath his fingers. He understood then that the universe could be cruel, but it could also be generous. Two worlds had survived, not through destruction, but through courage, trust, and the willingness to rise above fear. Around them the citizens cheered, but the most profound sound was the quiet thrum in his chest, the shared heartbeat of hope, the pulse of possibility. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a bridge between species, a symbol that humanity could rise even among the stars. The queen stepped beside him, and together they looked out at the horizon. Light glimmered across mountains, cities, and oceans, reflecting the promise of a future unwritten. Two worlds once at war now shared a bond stronger than fear, stronger than history, stronger than anything either species had imagined. And as Hale stood there, hand in hand with the Queen of Prime, he realized that sometimes courage and humanity could change the stars themselves. A new era had begun, written not in conquest, not in power, but in trust, hope, and the quiet, undeniable strength of one human heart. The universe was watching, and for the first time it smiled,